Welcome to my channel. Last summer, we had our first episode of Random and Famous. So it's been a year now, and it's all started with an idea to talk about people who went out of their comfort zones to achieve success, no matter how big or small, but they made the difference to other people's lives and changed their lives as well. Today is our end of first season, and what a way to end this, because I'm really excited to introduce a serial entrepreneur, author, investor. He created the first and largest software bootcamp, coding camp in America, founder and CEO of multiple ventures in staffing, tech education, marketing, and several other fields. Founder of CanaGlobal, he has helped many people to find purpose in their life. Please welcome Gerald Duran.
It's my honor to be with you. I'm excited about today's conversation.
Thank you so much for joining me on this platform. I'm really grateful. Gerald, quickly, for the people who don't know you, if you could please tell us briefly about yourself.
Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. CanaGlobal is my sixth venture. And so I've been at it 37 years. And so I launched my first company at 23 years old, and it was a time in my life when my life was a mess. And so I think perhaps as we get into the story, it'll encourage some people who feel like they don't have the perfect situation or circumstances. You could go after your dreams if you think big.
Yeah, that's great. But Gerald, my question will be here. You have done so many things and achieved a lot. But who actually taught you all this? Because now you are sort of coach and mentor as well, which is very important. But at that time when you were starting, was there any mentor for you at that time?
You know, in my early days, when I was in my early 20s, most of my mentors were authors of books because there weren't, accelerators or incubators, or I didn't know anybody. I came from a very poor family in a very impoverished part of America. And so there weren't mentors, but, I can tell you, and this is something that I believe, I don't think everybody will believe it, but really my main mentor has been God. I mean, a lot of people don't understand how is that possible, but that is, for the last 37 years, I would give him credit. And I had no idea how helpful God would be in building companies. I didn't really think he had any interest in building companies, but really I feel like for the past 37 years, I've co-created with him. He makes the trees, we build the chairs. He makes the wheat, we make the cakes. So it's a wonderful type of partnership, I think.
I think it's a very good point what you just said, that belief is important. You have to believe in something, right?
You do.
And that's, I think, what happened with you. Once you really believe is that there is a God, there's a divine power or whatever people say.
Right.
But once you believe and you take it from there. I read some of your posts about the CanaGlobal, right? Can you just tell us what it's all about? Because it looks like a massive project, and then you talk about the God and the belief and everything there. And it's really interesting to me.
Well, before CanaGlobal, I had two 16-year seasons. My first 16-year season was building 4 companies. And then the next 16-year season was I built a business turnaround firm. So we did nothing but turnaround firms. But our impact was really, a handful of companies that were part of our portfolio. But in 2016, I began to have a dream and a desire to really take what I knew and share it with thousands and perhaps millions of future entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs out there who were struggling. And so I've always been somebody, having been an underdog myself, I've always had empathy for the underdog. And when I first was about to launch Cana, at first we were just going to fund 10 or 15 companies and then incubate them and help them grow. But I thought that's not going to have a great impact on the world. And so, as we study the workforce, 70% of the global workforce are seeking purpose, but not finding it. So
Okay.
they believe that there's something better, something more purpose-driven than maybe the 9 to 5, or perhaps even the companies that they run. And then the same percentage are seeking to become self-employed or entrepreneurs. So I knew that there was a huge demand. The gig economy has created this world where half of millennials are freelancers, but there's a distinct difference between freelancers and the entrepreneur. The other thing that really, I think, as an entrepreneur, seeing a problem that I wanted to invest my resources into solving was when we look at the failure rate in entrepreneurs. When you look at first year, it's as high as 90%. When you
Yeah.
look at even those that, of those that are seeking funding for their ventures, less than 1% get it. And of the 1% that get it, 90% still fail. So there's this
Yeah.
enormous, it is like we're climbing Mount Everest on this entrepreneurial mountain climb, and the path is littered with dead bodies. And when a venture fails, it's very painful. People's hopes and dreams are destroyed. Sometimes their economic situation, they've burnt through their savings, their families are affected. And when I looked at the reasons why people were failing, it was totally preventable. When I look at all the reasons why people fail, the main reason is they don't understand what being prepared looks like. So that became my mission.
Okay, that's a very good point, actually, because I'm thinking, is there any other thing when people fail because they started with the passion, this idea, but they have lack of consistency? Do you think that's another thing as well?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, there's, at the heart of everything we do at CanaGlobal, we talk about having vision, which is, set goals in writing, a specific timeline, and then we talk about having diligence, and this is the execution. And
Yeah.
so, I would tell you that one of the negative traits I see in most people who fail is they don't have time management. And so every day they're scattered, they're doing a zillion different things, but they don't know, they're on this journey from point A to point Z. They don't really understand where they're at in the journey and what are the actual things they should be working on today, this week, this month, this quarter. They just don't know. And, because they don't have the know-how, they fail. And so really, I believe, and I've watched it happen with thousands and thousands of people that are, our surprise when we first started is we thought, like the coding boot camps, we were going to be flooded with people in their 20s and early 30s. Instead, at all of our events, because we were kind of an event-driven company, so we were having meetups and different events 4 or 5 nights a week, we started getting all these old guys like me showing up. And at first I thought, well, what's wrong with my marketing? I'm getting all these guys with gray hair. And after we did the research, we found out that the older Xers and the younger boomers is the fastest growing of all entrepreneurs. They're the most successful. And they're just people that have built a solid career in success, but they've decided to do something very purpose-driven and for themselves.
Yeah.
So they're quick learners. They've already had success. They're not looking for funding because they have savings, and then we get younger people too. But I would say that 80% of our audience are people that are coming to us that are launching companies are probably 45 plus. That was a complete shock to us. We didn't expect that at all.
No, that's really interesting. Yeah. And I think you're right. To have a vision is one thing, but then you need the knowledge, and then you need the time management, like very well said. And also you need the compassion, and you need the consistency with that. And then the things might go on the right track. Right?
Yeah, you need, when we were in the coding days, we were recruiting low paid people from the workforce who were low paid. Okay. And we were bringing them in, we were giving them a new mindset, a new way of thinking. We call it a success mindset. And then we were teaching them a relevant skill set. Okay. Those two things combined, but in a very short period of time, we were teaching them how to develop this new set of sought after skills, and then we were placing them into jobs. It's really no different when you're incubating entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so really they come in and they have to learn a whole new way of thinking. And then, you know, we break it down to 4 major components that they have to master. We call it full stack. Back in the coding days, that's what we would call a developer, a full stack developer, somebody who knows everything front end to back end.
Yeah.
As a small business entrepreneur, you have to have a full stack set of skills, mainly digital customer acquisition skills, to be successful. Because, you know, the reason why people fail is they run out of money. It's that simple. And so they never really get good at acquiring customers and building revenue,
Yeah.
mostly because they had a lousy plan to start with, because they didn't really understand. They never had anybody vet their plan. It takes us probably 10, 15 minutes to totally destroy somebody's plan because
Okay.
because they didn't vet it. Now we help them. We don't just, you know, destroy it. We actually help them,
Yeah.
but we have to change their mindset to do that.
Yeah. I think the mindset is really important in anything. Yeah, that's true. Gerald, you are also author of 2 amazing books, His Plan, My Plan, and Ignite Your Success. Just
Right.
briefly about these books, please.
Well, Ignite Your Success really was the result of me, a talk that I would give when I would be asked to speak at conferences. And so one time somebody says, man, I wish could I get your deck? Could I, and so I made it a book. And His Plan, My Plan was really about this idea of identifying God's plan and purpose for your life. One of my beliefs is that God has a plan and purpose for everybody, and really tapping into what that is. You know, if you believe in a creator, and you know, the beliefs could differ, but many believers believe in a creator, they believe in a God. And then, you know, it's not a stretch to believe that he has actually a plan for you. And so in the world of Christianity, I mean, here's the oddest thing. In the world of Christianity, probably 99% of Christians believe that, but here's what's crazy. Less than 18% can tell you what it is. So isn't it just insane to believe that, but then go through life and not know what it is? And so we have kind of a process for doing that. It's really from a business standpoint, you know, of what that would look like. And so, you know how you know when what you're doing or what your beliefs are true or not true? I'll tell you how I learned.
Okay.
They either work or they don't.
Yeah.
So what I would tell somebody, no matter what they believe, if they believe in a tree and that's their God, a tree, I would say, you know what, if it works for you, have at it. But at the end of the day, you know, it's like a farmer. You're a farmer if you have a harvest. You have to have a harvest.
Yes.
If you're farming for 50 years and you never have the harvest, you're doing something, you don't know what you're doing. And I think it's the same way with purpose and faith.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Very true. So you're helping so many people. You build that community, right? What's the inspiration behind it to help so many people?
Well, there's all these people with a need. There's people that are experiencing, you know, I've always seen people experiencing 4 or 5 different lacks. They lack of, you know, a big driver is there's a lot of people in the world with lack of finances to live out their dreams. There's people with lack of health. There's people with lack of faith to do the things that seem impossible. There's people with lack of purpose. There's all these different lacks out there. And so, you know, what we wanted to do is to help people go after their dreams. And I, you know, there's 2 questions I love asking people: if and what and if. And it's really the genesis of everything we do. And so we would say, if you had a magic wand, and I know we don't, but if you had one, what would you, and you waved it over your life, what would you change in your life over the next 5 years? Now, we might ask it in the reverse. What would you attempt or set out to accomplish if you knew you couldn't fail and you had 100% of the resources? When people dig into the answers of these 2 questions, and by the way, this is a question that I've been asking myself every single year for 37 years. My wife and I have asked ourselves this every single year. And what it does is and we build it in a 5-year time frame, and we paint a portrait of what we want to our life to look like in every area, from my personal life to my family life to my business life. And then we only build ventures that support our personal dreams. So we never become slaves to our companies. Our companies are slaves to us.
Okay, great. That's really great. Yeah. Gerald, I ask these questions to everyone. All the guests comes to my podcast. When would you say that you have taken that first step which changed your life? It could be people tell me it was 10 years ago. People also tell me it was 6 months ago.
So here's what I would tell you. It was 37 years ago.
Okay.
And I was homeless. I had just tried to commit suicide.
Oh, okay.
They had put me in an institution for 3 days. So I was really, I was partying, taking drugs. I was really a mess. And I got a hold of a book that says tough times never last, but tough people do. And it changed my thinking. And I started planning my first company, young and dumb. But guess what? 1 year later, I opened up my first, it was a staffing company in Newport Beach, California. And that was the shift. And I've never stopped since. I really came to understand my purpose.
Yeah.
And that, I think, has shaped everything from that day to today where I'm at. That's what we're teaching people, how to do just that, regardless of your circumstances.
Yeah, I think mentally you have to be really strong in that situation, right?
You have to develop a faith. You have to develop that, and there's a process for that. But today, one of the things that we're doing this year is launching 100 what we call city hubs across the globe. So it's really interesting. Even though we're based out of Arizona, in the United States, the state of Arizona, United States, 70% of our audience is from all over the world. And so it's really amazing. I mean, here you and I are talking, and you're in the UK, correct?
Yes. Correct.
And here we are over digital. And so we're creating digital and physical communities across the globe.
Yeah.
And that's some of the most exciting things that we're doing. And in the next 30 days, there's another group that I'm involved with called Epic. And we're giving birth, very successful company that's really built a parallel tech stack. But we're launching a venture capital firm where anybody could come and kind of around a crowdfunding model and find investors. So that's what I'm doing with my time.
Okay, that's great. Have you faced any challenges while establishing yourself? And what were those, and what's keep you going?
So I'll give you two. When I started my first company, for my first 12 months, I made no money. So to survive, I had to drive a diesel truck at nighttime. And so I worked around the clock. And for 1 year, everything I did didn't work. And this is really when they say there's no atheists in the foxhole. So I wasn't a very religious guy, but I cried out to God that says, if you're there, you've got to take this stress off. And something happened where I just had this peace. Even though my situation got worse, I had this peace. But something else happened. I found what I thought was a biblical promise from God. And it said that he would give me wisdom. So I thought, you must know, God, what I'm doing wrong. You must know what I need to do. So I started praying and asking him to change my thinking. In a matter of weeks, I had all these fresh ideas, marketed, very specific things. And that I executed. I built a plan around it and launched it. 30 days later, we were flooded with revenue, and it changed something because we started opening up offices. So that was the first thing. Here's the second thing that happened to me 25 years ago.
Yeah.
After years of everything that I touched turning to gold, okay, I went into what's called a desert season. And a desert season, that's the valleys in life. And it started with sickness and disease. My 10-year-old son, Alec, died unexpectedly. And so we had that. Then my wife got breast cancer. Then my other son, Brandon, got a a syndrome that kills a third of the people that had it. Then I ended up in the hospital diabetic. Then 2 businesses. I had just bought a college, a for-profit college, and then I had a marketing company. Both of my businesses failed all at once. And I lost my homes, my cars, my retirement. I lost everything. And I got down to $9.
Oh, so how did you cope that time? That's
Well, so the
interesting.
thing is I had a strong faith. And so when I came to understanding that I normalized, I had to, what I realized is that everybody over a period of time goes through these periods of time. And the faith that got me to where I was at, I believe I would be restored. And so these are seasons when you learn new things, and it's where you get battle tested. You know, nobody wants to follow somebody who's never been through battle.
Yeah.
And so everybody goes through battle. But here's something that I was able to prove, and this is the opportunity that I saw. I knew God would restore me. And so if I could be restored and only have $9 in my bank account, then, because, you know, people used to say, well, Gerald, you know, you talk about all these things, but, you know, you're a multimillionaire, you're, you know, how, I don't have any money. I'm, you know, living in some place, you know, across the world. Well, here's what happened. I went from $9 and then God just restored me. Like the guy in the book, Job. We've all heard that. Like I was like a Job. And so these are the things that I learned. These are the things that I've learned. And so really, faith, because what's the opposite of faith? Fear.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fear is having faith in your demise.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Fear, I think, kills. Yeah. Everyone puts down. No, it's a really great message. That because you have been there, done that, right? So there's an example when you go and talk with people, like you said, just $9 in the pocket, and you just bounce back because you had this faith, right, in God, and you push yourself. I think this is a great achievement. What would you say to others who have ideas? And lots of people have ideas these days. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to open my online business. I'm going to do this, but they are reluctant to take that first step for obvious reasons. What would you say to them? So
there's 3 things. One is, if God's offering help, take it. So develop your faith. You know, we always, when I go speak at a conference, I always ask people, what do you call somebody who's stuck? God offers help, but they reject it. And it only takes a couple of seconds for somebody in the audience to scream out, a frickin' idiot. And that's what I believe. So if you're stuck, God's offering help, take it. Discover your purpose. Okay. Discover your purpose, and then become what we call full stack. Understand what being prepared is. Let me just say it this way. If life hasn't worked out the way you planned it, then invest in the time. Most people are believers in something, then start searching out why you're on the planet. There's 2 kinds of people, those who know why they're on the planet and those who don't. That is the key to start with, because I've learned this. My future is not determined by my present circumstances. It's determined by my ability to dream and plan big. And so my perception of what's possible, and I would say God's plan and purpose for my life. It is impossible. Now, I could fail short-term. That failure is when I'm learning what doesn't work. But it's impossible for me to fail long-term because I'm aligned with God. And I believe that is true. If I didn't have the fruit on my tree, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I wouldn't be with God. I would do something else. Yeah, I agree. Gerald, on that note, I'm really grateful that you joined me today. And once again, thank you, and really appreciate your time. My honor and privilege to be here with you. Thank you.